figured it would be the usual crash at Jamie's, annihilate each other in cope, demolish a family-sized bag of Doritos, and pretend we weren't 21 and still living like freshmen. But when I rolled up to the little blue duplex on Maple, the porch light was already on, and the front door cracked open like someone was expecting company. Jamie never remembered to lock anything, so I nudged it with my shoulder and stepped inside. "Yo." "I come bearing caffeine and bad decisions," I called. Juggling a six-pack of Monster and a greasy paper bag from the 24-hour taco stand, from the kitchen came a low, amused, "Bad decisions are in the fridge. Second shelf. Caffeine's on the counter. Definitely not Jamie." I rounded the corner and nearly dropped the tacos. Ellis, Jamie's older brother, was leaning against the island. Sleeves of his gray Henley shoved to the elbows, forearms corded and dusted with flour. A wooden spoon rested across his knuckles, like he'd been conducting an orchestra of pancake batter. His dark hair was pushed back with a backward baseball cap. There was a streak of batter on his cheekbone that made him look unfairly human. He lifted an eyebrow. "You're the infamous Milo." Yeah, hi." I set the bag down before I crushed it. "Didn't know you were in town?" "Weekend liberty," he said, turning back to the stove. "Navy finally cut me loose for 72 hours. Figured I'd remind Jamie what real food tastes like." Jamie bounded down the stairs at that exact moment, hair sticking up like a dandelion, wearing the same hoodie he'd had since sophomore year. "Milo, you brought tacos? Ellis is trying to murder us with cholesterol. Save me." Ellis flicked a dish towel at him. "Sit, eat, stop whining." I laughed, but it came out shaky. Ellis had always been the mythic older sibling, deployed more often than home. The guy whose frame dress whites hung in the hallway like a museum piece. I'd seen him maybe 4 times in 7 years. He'd filled out since the last time, broader, quieter, the kind of calm that made the room rearrange itself around him. We ate pancakes the size of hubcaps and played until the sun threatened to come up. Jamie conked out somewhere around level 37, controller sliding from his limp hand to the carpet. I muted the TV, stretched, realized my contacts felt like sandpaper. Water, kitchen, quiet. The hallway was dark except for the thin blade of light under Ellis's door. I told myself I was being stealthy, but the floorboard by the bathroom betrayed me with a groan. The door opened before I reached the stairs. Ellis stood there in sweatpants and dog tags, the chain catching the low light. "Hydration mission." Something like that. My voice cracked like a 12-year-old's. Smooth. He stepped aside. "Fridge is still stocked. Come on." I followed because refusing felt impossible. The kitchen was warmer than before, the overhead light off. It's only the glow from the stove clock and the street lamp through the window. He pulled 2 bottles from the door, twisted the caps off with one hand, and handed me one. "You always this jumpy at 2 a.m.? He asked. "Only when I'm trespassing in a sailor's kitchen." He huffed a laugh. "It's Jamie's kitchen. I'm just the temporary tyrant." He took a long drink, throat working, then set the bottle down. "He talks about you nonstop, you know. Says you once beat the entire CS club with a trackpad." "Ancient history," I muttered. Ellis tilted his head. "You any good at pool? There's a table in the basement, right?" He was already moving. "Grab your water." The basement smelled like cedar and old carpet. A single bulb over the table painted everything gold. He racked the balls with practiced flicks, then chalked a cue and handed it over. 8 ball. You break." I did badly. Solids scattered like they were allergic to each other. Ellis didn't laugh. He just studied the table like it owed him money. When he leaned over to line up his shot, the dog tags swung forward, catching the light. I tried not to stare at the way his shoulder. Blades moved under the cotton. Conversation came in slow drips at first. "You still pulling all-nighters for fun, or is that just Jamie? Finals are in 3 weeks. Sleep is negotiable." He sank the 3-ball in the corner, straightened. "I remember those. Thought basic was brutal until I tried cramming fluid dynamics at 0400 on a destroyer. I missed my next shot entirely. The Q-tip glanced off the white and sent it spinning into nowhere. Ellis rounded the table. Stop just shy of my personal space. You're telegraphing. Relax your wrist. He reached around me, not quite touching, and adjusted my grip. His voice was low near my ear. Like this. Heat flooded my neck. I nodded, throat dry, and somehow managed to pocket the 11. He let out a soft, approving sound that did things to my pulse. We played 3 games. I lost all 3, but the margin got smaller each time. Between shots, we really talked. He told me about standing watch in the Persian Gulf, how the stars looked close enough to touch when the ship cut engines. I told him about the robotics project that exploded literally 2 days before regionals. He laughed, this deep. A surprise sound that made the basement feel smaller. At some point, the water bottles were empty and the clock on the wall read 3:47. Ellis leaned back against the table, arms crossed. You're not what I expected. Jamie hyped me up too much. Opposite. His gaze flicked over my face. He said you were quiet. You're not. You just listen first. Oh. I swallowed. You're easier to talk to than I remember. 6 years of practice talking to people who outrank me. You learn to read the room. He pushed off the table, closed the distance in 2 slow steps. Or read the person. My back met the paneled wall. Not trapped there was space, but the air condensed. He smelled like coffee and the faint metallic bite of the basement. His hand came up, thumb brushing the corner of my mouth where a bit of chalk dust had settled. You've got... He stopped, eyes dropping to my lips, then back up. Tell me if I'm misreading this. I couldn't find words. My heart was a drum line. I managed a shake of my head that definitely wasn't no. Ellis exhaled, something unsteady in it, and leaned in. The kiss was careful at first testing, like he was still waiting for me to bolt. When I didn't, it shifted. Deeper, surer, his hands sliding to the nape of my neck. My fingers found the chain of his dog tags, cool metal against my knuckles. We broke apart only when the need for oxygen became non-negotiable. Forehead still touching, he murmured, Jamie's gonna kill me. Worth it, I whispered. He laughed softly, the sound rumbling between us. Basement's cold. Couch upstairs is warmer. I followed him up the narrow stairs, past Jamie's snoring form sprawled across the living room floor like a starfish. Ellis tugged a blanket from the back of the couch, draped it over his brother without waking him, then led me to the sectional in the corner. We didn't talk much after that, just traded slow kisses and quieter confessions until the sky outside turned lavender. Morning arrived with the smell of bacon again. Jamie stumbled in, took one look at Ellis flipping pancakes in nothing but sweatpants and me pouring orange juice in yesterday's hoodie, and froze. Please tell me you didn't hook up in my basement, he said. Ellis didn't even glance up from the stove. Define hookup. Jamie threw a dish towel at his head. I hate you both. But he was grinning when he stole the first pancake. Later, when Jamie was distracted arguing with the Xbox, Ellis caught my wrist at the sink. I ship out again in 48 hours. The words landed heavy. I nodded, throat tight. He brushed his thumb over my pulse. Write me. Every day, I said. He kissed me once more quick. Fierce then, let go before Jamie noticed. That weekend reset more than my stress levels. It rewrote the map I didn't know I was carrying. Sometimes love doesn't find you in grand gestures or far-off places. Sometimes it's just the quiet clack of pool balls at 3 a.m., the weight of dog tags against your palm, and the realization that home can be a person you didn't expect to meet in the dark. When I pushed open the kitchen door, Eli was already there, flipping pancakes at the stove like he'd been doing it every Sunday since birth. Shirtless, naturally. The low light caught the shift of his shoulders. The small scar just under his left rib that I'd noticed the night before and pretended not to catalog. I cleared my throat louder than necessary. You're up early? He said without turning, voice still husky from sleep. So are you, I answered, reaching past him for the chipped blue mug that had become mine by default. Run first, cook second. Keeps the blood moving. Slid a short stack onto a plate and set it in front of the stool I always took. I opened my mouth to protest too much. Too familiar, but he cut me off. I wanted to. The words landed soft and certain. I sat. We ate in the kind of quiet that doesn't need filling. Jonah was still upstairs, snoring loud enough to rattle the light fixture. Eli's fork scraped ceramic. Mine answered. Outside, the first bird tested a note. "So," I said eventually, "what do you actually do when you're not feeding strays?" He leaned against the counter, arms folded. The posture of someone used to being asked and never quite answering. Was a paramedic for 6 years. Burned out. Took the savings, bought a fixer-upper camper, drove till the road ran out of names. Now I'm between maps. I laughed under my breath. That's either poetic or evasive. Both, he admitted. Your turn. What are you studying that makes you watch people like you're solving them? Anthropology, I said. I like patterns, especially the ones people swear aren't there. His eyes narrowed, amused. You think I'm a pattern? I think you want to look like one, I said. But mostly you just miss having someone to cook for. The amusement flickered, replaced by something raw. He looked down at the skillet, flipped a pancake that didn't need flipping. You're meaner than you look, he said quietly, and you're gentler, I shot back. He laughed short. Surprised, the sound of a man who'd forgotten he still could. I like you, he said, the words slipping out like they'd been waiting in the wings. My pulse stumbled. You've known me 48 hours. Long enough, he said, and meant it. The floor creaked overhead. Jonah's unmistakable elephant stomp started down the stairs. Eli straightened instantly, busying himself with the sink. I stared too hard at my plate. Something smells like heaven and regret, Jonah announced, hair-defying gravity. He took in the 2 plates, the empty skillet, the careful distance between Eli and me. Did I miss the wedding? Only the vows, Eli said. Deadpan. I choked on orange juice. The rest of the day we pretended the moment in the kitchen had never happened. We played Mario Kart until controllers threatened divorce, ordered pizza with too many toppings, bet push-ups on every race. Jonah won mostly because Eli let him. I watched the way Eli's mouth curved when he threw a game small. Private fondant stored it away like contraband. Night dropped fast. Jonah passed out on the couch mid-movie, mouth open. 1 sock missing. I slipped upstairs to the guest room that smelled faintly of cedar and old books. Couldn't sleep. Kept replaying Eli's voice, long enough to soft knocks. I opened the door a crack. Eli stood in the hallway light, wearing a threadbare Dartmouth hoodie. Hands in the front pocket like he was holding himself together. You up? I nodded. He led me through the dark house, past Jonah's snores, out the back door. The cold hit like a slap. Without a word, he tugged a second hoodie from the porch bench's spare. The one that had lived in the camper, and tossed it to me. It smelled like coffee, pine soap, and something warm I couldn't name. I pulled it on. We sat on the top step. The sky was a spill of diamonds. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Finally he said, I don't do this. Do what? Want second mornings? I turned. His profile was sharp against the moonlight, jaw tight. I don't do first mornings, I said. Usually. He huffed a laugh that fogged and vanished. Silence again, but different. Now charged, waiting. Below us, the grass silvered with frost. Somewhere, a coyote yipped once and thought better of it. Eli shifted. Our shoulders brushed. Neither of us moved away. I leave in 3 days, he said. Campers almost packed. The words landed heavy, inevitable. I swallowed. Where to? North. Maybe Oregon. Haven't decided? That's a big maybe. That's the point. I picked at a splinter on the step. You could stay a week. I could, he said. But then I'd want to. And then? He looked at me fully, eyes dark and steady. Then I'd start cooking breakfast for someone who isn't just passing through. The night held its breath. I said, I have finals in 10 days. I know. I also know the difference between a pattern and a person. He waited. I leaned in, slow enough for him to stop me. He didn't. Our lips met cold at first, then not. His hand found the back of my neck, thumb brushing the hollow beneath my ear like he'd practiced the motion in dreams. When we pulled apart, the space between us was warmer than the hoodie. 3 days, I whispered. 3 mornings, he corrected, inside. Jonah snorted in his sleep and rolled off the couch with a thump. We both flinched, then laughed, quiet, conspiratorial. Eli stood, offered his hand. I took it. His palm was calloused, steady. We left the porch light off. The house swallowed us gently. Upstairs, he paused outside the guest room. Tomorrow, he said, I make French toast. You critique my technique? Deal? I said. But I'm brutal with syrup ratios. He grinned, the expression softer in the hallway shadows. I'll risk it. He started toward the couch he'd claimed as his, then stopped. Turned back. Hey, Mara. Yeah. For the record, I already know your coffee order. 2 sugars, splash of oat milk, no lid. I blinked. I've never told you that. You leave the oat milk carton on the second shelf, door side. You stir exactly 5 times. I count things when I'm nervous. My chest caved in the best way. Eli, lock the door behind you. Jonah sleepwalks. He laughed under his breath and disappeared down the stairs. I closed the door. Leaned against it, hoodie bunched in my fists. 3 mornings, I could work with 3 outside. The stars kept their ancient counsel, and for the first time in years, the road didn't feel like the only thing wide enough to hold me. The wooden steps creaked under our weight, shoulder to shoulder, but not touching. The night smelled of cut grass and distant barbecue smoke. I wasn't usually this quiet, Sam said, breaking the hush. Like what? I asked. Open. I keep everything on a need-to-know basis. Why? He shrugged, the motion small. Because every time I hand someone the key, they either lose it or use it to rob me blind. His voice dipped on the last word, and I got it in a flash. Someone had treated him like a side quest, not the main story. I looked over. I'm not here to loot and leave, he turned, eyes catching the porch light. Then what are you here for, Jamie? The question floated between us like smoke. I didn't have a tidy answer. I just knew I wanted to stick around long enough to find out who he was when the armor came off. I let my knuckles graze his. He didn't flinch. We stayed like that, hands barely linked, the space between us humming with possibility. After a while, Sam stood. Get some sleep, he said. Keep the flannel. He disappeared inside. I sat under the stars with his shirt smelling of cedar and engine oil, pulse loud in my ears. I hadn't come looking for Sam. He'd just been there, quiet and watchful, until suddenly he was everywhere in my head. It wasn't just me as older brother anymore. He was the guy who made my skin feel too small. The next few days were off-kilter in the best way. Nothing spelled out, but everything tilted. Flicker when our eyes caught across the breakfast table, the way he said my name like it had weight when Mia wasn't listening. I started crashing at their place, more blaming the dorm's paper-thin walls, the cafeteria's mystery meat. Truth was, I just wanted the chance of running into him in the hallway at 2 a.m. We didn't talk much in daylight. But once the house settled, the silence turned electric. 4 nights later, I was back on the porch. Flannel buttoned wrong. Phone dark in my pocket. Sam stepped out like he'd been waiting. You planning to adopt my whole wardrobe, he asked, dropping beside me. It's warm, I said. You could buy your own. I like yours. He huffed a laugh, eyes on the sky. You're not like the rest. What rest? The ones who treated me like a dare. My ribs tightened. That's not how I see you. He angled toward me. How do you see me then? I swallowed. Someone who fixes things. Cars, people, whatever. But won't let anyone under the hood. He was quiet so long I thought I'd blown it. Then, soft, what do you want from me, Jamie? I don't know the whole map yet, I said. But I know I don't want to scratch the paint. He reached over, deliberate this time, and laced our fingers. That night Mia passed out early, controller still in her lap. I was staring at the ceiling on the air mattress when 2 knocks landed light, like they were afraid to commit. I opened the door. Sam stood there in sweatpants and an old band tee, looking like he'd argued himself into showing up. He didn't speak, just held out his hand. I took it. We didn't go to the porch. He led me down the hall to his room. Low lamp motor oil scent, posters of muscle cars and surf brakes, a half-built model engine on the dresser. A photo of him and a golden retriever pinned above the desk. Layers I hadn't earned yet. He shut the door, clicked the lock. The air felt thick enough to chew. I shouldn't have brought you here, he muttered. Then why did you? Because I'm tired of guessing what your mouth tastes like. He stepped in, slow, and cupped my jaw like I might break. I leaned the last inch. Kiss started careful, testing temperature, then deepened. Deliberate, like he was tuning an engine by ear. His hand slid to my waist. Mine found the soft hair at his nape. We mapped each other in small increments, learning the give and take. When we pulled apart, foreheads still touching, he whispered, "Sorry? For what? Dragging you into my mess." I laughed under my breath. I walked in with eyes open. We sat on the edge of his bed. "Mia doesn't know," he said. "And if she did, she's my best friend," I finished. "You're her brother. It's not a post-it note situation. We're not anything with a label yet," I said. He looked at me, steady. "Do you want a label?" I thought about it, really thought, yeah, I think I do. Morning was a scramble, Mia yelling. About a forgotten flash drive. Hopping into one sneaker while hunting the other. She barely clocked that Sam was already up, pouring coffee like nothing seismic had happened. "You two pull an all-nighter?" she asked through a mouthful of bagel. "Couldn't sleep?" Sam said smoothly. Mia groaned. "Get on a human schedule, weirdos." She bolted out the door with a wave. The silence that followed felt conspiratorial. Sam leaned against the counter. "So secret?" "For now," I said. He nodded. "But we don't pretend it's nothing." Deal. The next week was a masterclass in stealth. A thumb brushing my wrist under the dinner table. His knee pressed to mine on the couch, while Mia narrated some campus drama. Texts that lived in the ellipsis between messages. At night we met in his room or the garage, quiet laughs, slower. Kisses. Conversations that started with carburetors and ended somewhere near the bone. We weren't having sex, but we were learning each other's fault lines, and that felt bigger. The crash came on a Thursday. Mia had run to the corner store for ice cream. Sam and I were on the couch, my head on his shoulder, his fingers tracing idle circles on my arm. The sitcom laugh track felt miles away. Then keys in the lock. They were out of mid-chip. Mia stopped dead. We sprang apart like we'd been tased. She looked from me to Sam, then back. What the hell was that? Silence stretched thin. Sam stood first. "We didn't mean for you to find out like this." Mia's eyes narrowed. "Find out what exactly? That my best friend and my brother are?" She gestured vaguely like the word was too big. "I'm sorry," I said. "It just happened." Sam added, "We were figuring out how to tell you." Mia paced, sneakers squeaking. "Behind my back? You couldn't trust me with this?" "I was scared," I admitted. "Scared you'd hate me. Hate us." Arms crossed. "I don't care who you love. I care that I was the last to know." The room held its breath. Then Mia exhaled, long and shaky, and dropped into the armchair. "You should have just told me. I'm sorry," Sam said. "Me too," I echoed. She studied us for a long minute. "This is going to be weird as hell," she said finally. "But I'll live." The next days were quiet in a different key. Mia wasn't icy, just recalibrating. Our marathon gaming sessions shrank to one round. She'd catch my eye and look away fast. I hated the distance, but pushing felt worse. "Sam," and I stopped hiding. But we didn't broadcast either, just held hands in the kitchen when she wasn't looking, waited for the new normal to settle. One Saturday, she came home early from the gym, was at the table sketching logos for a class project. Sam was under the hood of his project car in the driveway, radio blasting classic rock. Mia jerked her chin toward the porch. "You, me, now." My stomach dropped. I sat on the top step, knees almost touching. She picked at the label on her water bottle. "I've been thinking," she said. "Not about you two being together. That part's whatever. It's about the fact you didn't think I could handle it." I opened my mouth. She held up a hand. "I get scared too." okay? There was this girl freshman year. Never told a soul. She transferred mid-semester and I just carried it. So yeah, I get keeping things close. But we're supposed to be ride or die. I nodded, throat thick. I'm sorry. See how you look at him, she said. It's not a game. It's not, I said. Good. Because if you break his heart, I know where you sleep. She bumped my shoulder, half smile breaking through. We're okay? We're okay, I said. She stood, offered me a hand up. Come help me yell at Sam for blasting Journey at noon. That night, Sam found me on the couch, replaying her words. So? He asked, wary. I grinned. She threatened bodily harm if I hurt you. Barked a laugh, tension unraveling. Sounds about right. I tugged him down beside me. She's coming around. He rested his head against mine. And us. I threaded our fingers. Still real, weeks slid by. No more code. We went to the drive-in, shared popcorn and inside jokes. Dug Rusty, the golden in the photo, to the park and let him drag us through mud. Sometimes people stared at two guys holding hands. Sometimes they didn't. I stopped cataloging reactions. One night we were sprawled on his bedroom floor, backs against the bed, trading earbuds and terrible playlists. Sam nudged me. Ever think we'd end up here? I snorted. You mean me stealing your flannel and your sister's patience? Grinned. You were just the quiet art kid who ate all Mia's cereal. Now you're he stopped. Like the word was too big. Everything, he finished quietly. My eyes stung. Could you let me in? I said. And I'm not leaving. He kissed me slow, like sealing a promise. Later, back on the porch, full circle, the air smelled of coming rain. Inside, Mia was yelling victory at some racing game. Sam sat beside me, legs stretched, flannel sleeves pushed up, grease still under one nail. He bumped my shoulder. I love you, Jamie. Just like that, steady as a heartbeat. I turned, met his eyes. I love you too. Then I kissed him. No hesitation, no audience. Just us and the night and the quiet certainty that this was home. Love doesn't ring the doorbell in a tux. Sometimes it rolls up in a beat-up pickup, wearing engine grease and a cautious smile, and parks itself in your chest before you've even checked the oil. And if you're lucky, you get to watch the walls come down one honest conversation. One shared sunrise, one flannel-scented night at a tame, until you realize the spare key was always meant for you.